everyone, my name is Chloe, and today I'm here to talk about my October reading in review. So October was a rough month for me in reading. It was just, I'm in a strip of not loving anything, and I'm just, I don't know, a little gassed out on the whole reading thing. However, let's talk about the stats, because there was a fair amount of reading done. It just wasn't what I wanted it to be. So I read 27 books and DNF'd 4. That's 6,706 pages or 216 pages per day. So the numbers were down from September, but like still excessive numbers. 248 pages was the average length of my book. So there's a fair amount of middle grade, as you will see coming up. So I read about 0.87 books per day. I read 8 books with my kids and 19 solo. Then 15 were young adult. 15 were adult. 1 was young adult, and 11 were middle grade. So a lot of middle grade. 15 were novels. 10 were chapter books. 1 graphic novel and 1 verse. 1 book told in verse. 14 were off my shelf, and 13 were from somewhere else. So just barely getting that 50% mark that I like to hit. I used Libby for 17 of them. Hoopla for 3. NetGalley for 3. Sorry, had to break up a little altercation there, but let's see, 2 were from the library, 1 was from Spotify, and 1 was just directly off my shelf. 18 of the books I read were on audiobook, 7 were ebook, and 2 were physical. So not a lot less physical, but my kids and I have been reading ebooks just because it's the way it works with putting the baby down. She's often in there also, and so it works a lot better to have an ebook. So yeah, we haven't been reading physically quite as much. And then, let's see, 7 were new release and 20 were backlist. So my genres are contemporary. I had 9 contemporary, 5 romance, 4 nonfiction, 2 women's fiction, 2 magical realism, 1 mystery thriller, 1 sci-fi fantasy, 1 romantic suspense, 1 poetry, and 1 historical. So all over the board, as always. Storygraph says my moods were emotional, which is the biggest chunk, and I feel like every single book is marked emotional on Storygraph. Let me know if you agree. Followed by reflective, mysterious, and then lighthearted, informative, and hopeful. So here's what's kind of informative to me on Storygraph. They say 21% of the books were slow, 71 were medium, and only 7% were fast. And I feel like I don't need all fast reads, but I need more than 7%. I think that helps get the mojo going, gets things like I feel productive. I don't know what it is. My star ratings, I had 4 DNFs, like I said, 3 2 stars, 6 3 stars, 11 3.5 stars, and 7 4 stars. However, looking through my list, I think only 1 or 2 of those 4 stars were adult. The rest were all middle grade, and I'm a way more generous rater with middle grade, so that kind of skews it. So for me, my rating, my average is 3.35. However, on Storygraph, I don't put in any of the middle grade, and they say it was actually 3.5. So I had mostly 3.5 star or lower reads for myself, but then, well, there's 1 or 2 that were 4 star. Let me tell you about those, because I always tell you about my favorites. I try to do 5. I don't have 5. I have 2. My Phony Valentine by Courtney Walsh. This is a book that I read for my collaboration with Laura from Lovely Day with Laura, and she picked, I read 3 of her favorite books, and she read 3 of mine, so I will link her down below. Definitely go check it out, but I really enjoyed My Phony Valentine. I thought it was a perfectly cute, wholesome, fun romance set around Valentine's Day, and I really enjoyed it. The other one is How About Now, which is poetry by Kate Baer. I'm not a big poetry gal, but there's a couple of poets that I will always read, and she is one of them, and some of them just really hit home. And so I really, really enjoyed that. Otherwise, I read The Second Chance Cinema, which I just talked about in this last week's wrap-up. I love the concept, not the execution as much. I read The Heartbreak Hotel, which I loved the concept of, but not as much the execution. So overall, it was a really blah month. But it's November 2nd, and I've already finished 2 things, which just feels great. And so I'm like feeling the mojo. I keep saying things are gonna look up in my reading world, and maybe they will, maybe they won't, but we're going to hope for it. So let me know, what was the best thing you read in October? Have you read any of the books that I did? And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.